Hello, I'm Wade Henderson. Join me now for conversations with our neighbors who create visual art. This is Delta Hands. In this edition, we'll meet an artist who connects with the art of life and colorfully communicates with his viewers. We'll enjoy the oil paintings of a Baton Rougean who likes to, as she says, mess with your mind. And we'll see captured in Louisiana's light a graceful perspective that seems from the past but is actually all around us. We begin with Ken Hurd, who is well known in our community for sculpting landscapes as the owner of Hurd's Tree Service. His studio is just steps off of Highland Road in a rebuilt chicken coop that he calls Coupe de Ville.
Not afraid to get loose, because loose as a goose can develop into some really nice stuff. Bear in mind that I'm not really a photorealistic painter. Never will be and don't want to be. But remember, I need to leave the lights. Leave the lights in your painting in watercolor, because once they're gone, they're gone. You can bring them back up by scrubbing, but it's a pretty large process, and I don't think the results are quite as effective as leaving the lights and being very conscious of that from the beginning in watercolor. Here's sunlight drifting over some wave tops, and I see a bird here developing. It's a little bird, just to make you conscious. He's diving into the surf right there. And I really especially enjoy going out and painting the shrimp boats and the swamps, or maybe people of the swamps, and anything that's associated with that nature. Pelicans, just to go to the coastline in the morning at sunrise and watch the bait schools go by and see that sunrise and see these pelicans go by and land on a boat's rigging. I've done several paintings of my children in the morning, and that morning sunlight is nothing like it on the coast. Particularly to me, that's what turns me on. I like the water and the waves and nature. I think the last time I was at the coast, unexpectedly, 3 different people came up in 3 different places where I was fishing and said, "Now, if this isn't God, I don't know where it is." And it's my same sentiment. So there again, the big guy is communicating to his viewers. Art is life, and it's being able to hook in to that form of life, to that consciousness, and be able to say that you're creating a piece of art. You know, my child, when I first took him fishing a few years ago, 3 years ago, I had a bait cast spinning rod I put in his hand. Well, he backlashed it continually. Since then, he's become a very avid fisherman. And now, about a year later, after going fishing with one of his very good friends every evening, he's become a master. He's become an artist with his rod and reel. Not only has he become a master physically of being able to manipulate the rod and reel to his desire, he also learns to spot the fish, water conditions, and so there again, so many factors go into our observance and our appreciation of art and what we call art. Life is art. I'll state it again. If you can hook in to being able to see or do what you want, you can make an art out of it. Most artists live well into their old age and relatively not as complicated with health problems, because the body-mind-soul relationship that goes with creating art. There's a healing within the soul. For instance, if I really feel a piece, and I've done this and had put them in shows, I felt the piece from the onset that I had the conception that I was going to do this composition or this person. And those pieces communicate to the viewer. So if you can really communicate emotion to the viewer picks it up and he feels the same thing that you feel. And that's the greatest compliment an artist can be given, is for the viewer to feel that emotion, that impact of what you're trying to say in a piece of work. And it's very, create mood. You can either be saddened, you can be happy, you can create a serenity, a silence. There's so many ways to express yourself in art, with colors and shapes, and horizons suggest tranquility, verticals pretty much stability, diagonals create tension, and there are all these tools that we can use as artists, whether it be color, line, or shapes, to create a mood, to create a feeling of a painting. Some artists don't care whether they communicate to the viewer. I personally do. I like people to see my art and be able to say, oh, that's what he's doing, or have some idea of what he's doing. People, I feel their inert spirit, their gut spirit. And when I feel a person, you can paint a person, or feel a mood of what they're supposed to be doing. Art is very tangible to me, and it's also a challenge, very challenging, because in between painting pictures and between the shows, there's bread to put on the table. That makes it very challenging. And there are artists who promote extremely well and at an early age and make it fairly big, but that's just art. It's an up and down cycle, the yin, the yang, but as long as you're feeding yourself and your soul, there's nothing else that's really important.
When Delta Hands continues, we'll meet an oil painter who explores an idea and sends a message with every series of paintings. And we'll visit with an artist who captures eye-pleasing beauty with ease and grace.